have that option. I think equally we need to make sure that the multifamily developments that are down there are actually housing the cars that are residing there. One of the things that we did recently is the westernmost portion of 27th, that was unlimited, or I think it was unlimited parking. And what we did is we put in 2-hour parking, 2 or 4 hour parking. And what you immediately saw was that that street cleared up and people could park to go to Mio Posto or could park to go to Sano Cafe, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that there's some smart work that can be done there. Equally, we're looking at some parking studies that is there on the Sunset Highway, again, to see if we can't make that a little bit more equitable and accessible for Islanders.
So, do you have a question?
We have one more answer.
One more answer.
My understanding is that a parking permit, if someone bought one, costs about 4 cents a day, as opposed to about $35 to park in Seattle. So obviously we have a pricing problem. Secondly, if you're a businessman, if you run a business downtown, whether it's in the Island Books area or in the Chicks area or in the Bottles area, your parking is taken up by people, oftentimes park there all day long, and it's not enforced. And so this has a secondary deleterious effect to us, and that is that it's limiting our access to those businesses, number one. Number two, the livelihood of those businesses, because if you can't get there, you got to go someplace else, or you have to give up your thing, or you have to leave the island and burn up some gas. So I think we got to do something more than just sit around and study and hopefully assess stuff. We need to price this thing so that Mercer Island residents can use downtown and use the parking down there. And it's going to get tremendously worse when we have a lot of multifamily stuff and when we have transit, because people will miss their little buses to come to Mercer Island and come and park in our thing. And we have almost no parking downtown available for that. Thank you.
My name is Tom Elzey. I'm a Mercer Island resident, and I'm a financial type. I was looking at the next door site, and there was an interesting poll on the next door site that asked the question, if you know now what you didn't know when you voted for or against Proposition 1, would you vote for Proposition 1 now? And I understand that there's a $1.4 million surplus. I think that's a year surplus. I don't know for sure. It may be just a 3-month surplus. But let's assume that it's a surplus and we're in good standing. So both candidates, if you knew now what you didn't know then, would you be in favor of Proposition 1?
Thanks for your question, Tom. My answer would be, I would not, with what I know now, I would vote a no again on Proposition 1, because I think it was a responsible thing to do then, and I think it would be the responsible thing to do now. And until such time as we put the financial management controls and begin to manage our city in some fashion like a business, so that we know where the money is going, or not only where it's coming from, but where it's going, we are going to continue to have this dialogue. There are a lot of people who have talked about a $5 million structural deficit. I don't want to claim that I know more about financial planning or financial things than you do. However, I have a hard time seeing that given the data that's available, the data that both as to revenue and expense. I think there's a lot we can do, but I think we have to belly up to the bar and do it. And that may not be easy, but it can be done. We can get control of finance. We can get control of the city that is now broken with many of our key players having resigned. And we can do these things, but we have to acknowledge them and be accountable for them. And that's what I'll be. Thank you.
So as a council, we were accountable. We did. We asked the city manager to put together a budget that assumed that Prop 1 would not pass. and it didn't pass. And so we started immediately, in advance of Prop 1, some of the cost cuts. The 1.4 million that people are talking about is actually a function of one-time monies and savings essentially that have come largely from positions that were not filled, knowing that Prop 1 wouldn't pass. So surplus is not exactly what I would call it. I would call it having started some of the work that we committed to doing. You know, I have either the advantage or the disadvantage of answering that question both as a council member and also as a resident. As a council member, there are absolutely things that I would do differently, and I've talked about this. It was too much, it was too fast. I think there was a longer education process that needed to go on. I think there were efficiency studies and efforts that were underway that are underway now that the community wasn't aware of, such as with the fire and our development services team, etc. So I would do things differently. And I think it's one of the things you also realize on council is it takes a team. And there's times when you make decisions that the whole team can get across the line, and whether that's exactly what your vision is or not. So what I would say is, I don't know, we have to take a look at that. But as a citizen, I'm still proud of the fact that I voted for Prop 1 because I still believe deeply that there is a structural issue. And I do believe that this is coming home to roost. We are facing an additional approximate $2 million in deficits in the next biennium, the first year. Thank you.
We've concluded the question and answer time, so now we're going to have closing statements from each of our candidates. Debbie, you get to go first.
So thank you. I mean, there's some absolutely fabulous questions tonight. I think all of these are worthy of, minutes, if not hours of conversation, but we certainly don't have that. So when you think about who it is that you're going to be voting for and supporting, I think I would ask a couple of things. First, that you look for somebody who's a team player and understands that you have to have the ability to cooperate and work together. And I believe I've shown that significantly. I'm hoping that in the future that ours will be a council which pursues good policy based on fact and debate and community conversations, that islanders of all backgrounds will volunteer and be supported by their neighbors and council in their good intentions, and that all faiths and beliefs will be respected and celebrated within this community. And the school district and its citizens will be our partners and our collaborators as we go forward. We need to pursue what's smart for today, but also smart for tomorrow, for our planet, for our kids, and for the community as a whole. So in short, what I'm standing for right now is a campaign and elections that are positive and constructive, and where funding is equitable and transparent. I think that's a complete distinction between the two of us. A local government that is inclusive and pragmatic and innovative and smart. That we have city staff that is professional and respected, and that our island sees their future and family as them as part of our future and family rather than as simply an employer. And a community where we trust each other and where that trust includes the best intentions and holds ourselves accountable as examples of the people that we want to be and the people that we are today. So there's good work still to be done, and I think that there's no silver bullet, there's no clean answer for so many of these issues. The question is whether or not you have a council who's ready to get down and get dirty and not come in with absolutes and think that there are so many ideas that have yet to be explored, but that can be innovative and cooperative and look at all those agencies out there in our faith communities, in our education communities, and so forth. So with that, I thank you and appreciate your time.
My goal, or my objective in running for city council was to sustain and nurture the quality of life in Mercer Island, and that has a lot of aspects to it. My opponent just made a comment about something about equitable funding. I'm self-funding this. I'm taking no money from anybody. No money from off-island, no money from political parties, no money from PACs. The only endorsements I've sought or accepted are from Mercer Island residents. I'm not a member of the Eastside Mayor's Club, and I don't have any intention of joining it. What my vision for Mercer Island is one in which we roll up our sleeves, we work hard to make this island work the way it has worked in the past, although it hasn't worked very well in the last few years, where we are able to protect ourselves when it comes to our regional partners. Frankly, if we consider look at Sound Transit, it's a good thing it's not an enemy for what it wants to do to us, and how we have, over the years, rolled over on things like the SOV thing, like tolling, and it took the citizens to get up on their hind legs and say, that's enough. We want you to act in our best interests. And I'll do that, because I have a very good idea of what our best interests are. I've lived here for 30 years, and I've committed myself to this community in a lot of different kinds of ways as a volunteer, and I'll continue to do that regardless of how this election comes. Please vote for me by November 5th, and thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for your interest in our city.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, everyone. Before we close out the night, I want to thank our candidates for coming. I'd like to thank all of you from the community who've come to listen and ask questions. And I'd like to thank Orna for her special role in this tonight. I would also like to ask you to consider making a donation. We have a little basket in the lobby, because normally we have had free facilities for these forums, but one of our forums had to be scheduled at the community center, and we had to pay for that. So if you would like to contribute some money towards that, we have a little basket, and we would really appreciate your support, because these are not funded by anybody except the goodness of our hearts. So please help, and come again. We have on Wednesday, we have the last two forums. So if you'd like to come on Wednesday at 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock, you can hear the last four candidates and the last two seats. So please join us then. And again, thank you for coming tonight.
Do you need help with the chairs?